My name is Liz Partch.
And I'm Paul Rowley.
And welcome to Farm and Dairy's virtual newsletter.
Where we'll be giving you a rundown of all the news this week.
Yeah.
Well,
this is the bird issue, right?
Indeed it is, yes. And I guess I'll kick us off here, take us on a flight. I had the chance to check out one of the most magical migration hotspots in all of North America for this issue, which is really cool. Magee Marsh Wildlife Area in Carroll Township, Ohio. It's really fun. So picture this, okay? So it's an early morning, the mist is hanging low in the air, and your binoculars are pointed up before you have even stepped onto the famous boardwalk there. That's where I found myself, and it was just so nice to be outside, even if the weather was a little disagreeable in the beginning. This stretch of forested beach along Lake Erie's southern shore really turns into quite the aviary every single spring because more than 300 species of birds will pass through there on their journeys north. So it was really cool.
A lot of birds.
Oh, yes, it is. Along the way, there's some really seriously show-stopping stars stopping in at Magee Marsh. So we've got the chestnut-sided warbler. We've got the great crested flycatcher. We've got the Cape May warbler. We've got so many warblers. To catch a glimpse of all of them, I joined a group of about 20 birders that were on this van trip that were being led by John Kohler. He's a naturalist with the Geauga Park District. It was super cool. So in just one day, they spotted 85 different species of birds. Super cool.
Wow.
They're not just backyard birds either. We're talking neotropical migrating birds. They're flying thousands of miles, and they're often weighing just like a little bit, an ounce maybe. Like they're just tiny, and they're doing this super impressive journey. So for them, Magee Marsh is not just a pit stop, but it's really a lifeline to their final destination. It's how they get there. They get a feed, they have to refuel, and they're going to make their way from here up to the boreal forests of Canada, where they will mate and nest and kind of hang out for a while, and then they'll fly back south when they're ready to do that.
Wow.
The area becomes the center of the birding universe, Magee Marsh, because people will descend onto this area to go take a look at these awesome, cool, colorful birds. And some of them will even nest right along the boardwalk railings, so you can get really close with a bird that is far from here, which is cool. We had a visit from a bird called a Kirtland's warbler, which was really cool. It sort of looks the way that Harry Styles would probably dress for one of his performances. They've got all these different cool colors to them, and they were also nearly extinct at one point, but then due to conservation efforts, they were actually able to be brought back.
It does sound like Harry Styles.
Yeah, absolutely. He's just reinventing himself,
Yeah, he's been gone for so long.
Absolutely.
He'll come back from extinction.
Right.
Who knows?
That's it. And there's just really cool stories that you'll hear from people who get to see these birds all the time, how they love watching them, their behavior and just all of their characteristics and things. It's just really, really cool. If you're not into rare warblers, there's also plenty to see at Magee Marsh anyway. You can just walk the boardwalk, breathe in that beautiful fresh air, and just let nature do what nature does best, which is astound us all. So anyway.
Yeah, but it's really crazy how far birds travel. It's
Absolutely.
Wow, can't even imagine doing that.
Yeah.
Well, this week I read about earthquakes that occurred at Bears Well Pad in Noble County, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ohio Department of Natural Resources linked the seismic events to hydraulic fracturing operations conducted by Energy Acquisition Partners, operating as Enco Energy.
Okay.
Yes, and the 4 earthquakes took place over several days in the first week of May.
Oh.
Yeah, the most recent earthquake took place on the night of May 8th, which was a 3.2 magnitude earthquake.
That seems really big to me.
Yeah, it does seem pretty big, right? So ODNR shut down the well pad, following that incident because it was bigger than normal, I guess,
right, okay.
potentially. So this isn't the first time earthquakes have occurred at well pads. Paul, between 2011 and 2012, 12 earthquakes occurred at the North Star First Class 2 injection well in Youngstown, Ohio.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and earthquakes at fracking pads also occurred in 2013 in Harrison County and in 2014 in Poland Township.
Okay.
Yes, so most recently in 2018, University of Miami scientists published a study that found a link between hydraulic fracturing operations and earthquakes by measuring earthquake patterns in eastern Ohio.
Oh.
Yeah, and it was really interesting reading about this study because researchers found that, while fracking occurs in, the more shallow layers of the Marcellus and Utica shale, operations can actually reactivate old, deeper faults in the Earth's crust, in turn causing an earthquake. So, a fracking operation can be 10,000 feet, and, the earthquake can occur in deeper faults 2,000 feet below where the operations are happening. So it was pretty interesting
Yeah, for sure.
that study. So,
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Okay. Well, I guess I don't have earthquakes. I do have more birds, though. So,
Mm-hmm.
farm and dairy contributing writer Barb Budrak, this week she wrote about a really remarkable restoration project that's taking place in Ohio, and it's giving new life to some wetlands and wildlife and farming communities. It's doing a lot of heavy lifting. So, in the heart of Port Clinton, we've got farmers Dick Lano and Todd Winke. And they're not just growing corn, wheat, and soybeans, they're also helping to cultivate something far more enduring, which is a future where conservation and agriculture work hand in hand. We'd love to see it. So, over 400 acres of their farmland have now been fitted with this new tile drainage system that they've got going on here. And it does more than just like manage the water that's running off of their fields, it's also helping to clean that water. And so, that runoff that used to carry nutrients straight into Lake Erie which have then caused those terrible, harmful algal blooms, is now being filtered through these new wetlands that are being created there, which kind of function like nature's kidneys. Wetlands are incredible. And these plants are all soaking up the phosphorus and the nitrogen that comes off of the fields before they can do more harm to the environment. So that's nature working for you. The Little Portage Project is what it's called, and it was funded by a $2.9 billion grant from H2 Ohio, as well as some federal funds from a group called the Pittman-Robertson Wildlife Restoration Act, and then grants from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and Ducks Unlimited. Part of the money was used to install the new drain tile on both of those farms for Lano and Winke, and then the tiling was engineered so that surface and subsurface water from more than 400 acres of their farmland combined would flow to this pumping system, and that would send it into Siemens Ditch, which is like a whole area over there. The ditch then takes the water under the road and it goes into this collection basin in this new wildlife area, which is like really cool. So then what do farmers get in return for this like big investment? Well, quite a bit, actually. They get healthier soil, which we love. They get better yields, which we love, and also a legacy of stewardship that honors the families who worked that land for generations. And if you read this story, you'll really get a sense of just how far back that goes. Barbara did a really good job conveying that. It was really interesting. The benefits obviously don't stop at just like the field's edge. The Little Portage Wildlife Area will constitute 357 acres of marsh and river frontage. And now, thanks to all this work, it's all just being revitalized again. New levees have created like fishing access for people to do recreational fishing in. There's water control stations that are being engineered by Ducks Unlimited, and that will allow for wetlands to be carefully managed and helping to revive native vegetation that is essential for like birds and aquatic wildlife, just all kinds of creatures that love, healthy lands and stuff. So we got blue-winged teal and the endangered sandhill crane. These wetlands are really going to support them and be a nesting ground for them. As well as their feeding and their own migration. And if you've ever visited Northwest Ohio during what's been dubbed the biggest week in birding in America, which is like happening here right now, you know the magic, as I do now from being at Magee Marsh, of watching neotropical birds touch down after their long flight from Central or South America. So it's super cool. So this Little Portage area may soon be one of their favorite rest stops, and I hope that anybody hearing or reading can maybe visit Little Portage too, so that it might become one of theirs as well.
Yeah,
Really
it sounds
cool.
like an awesome story.
Yeah,
It
check it
really
out.
sounds like the benefits kind of go both way with a cleanup.
Most
So,
Jeff, yeah.
yeah, awesome. Well, on the front of auction this week, our managing editor, the Sarah Welch, wrote about the National Cookie Cutter Collections Club convention that is coming to Canton, Ohio on June 21st.
That's so fun.
Yeah. She interviewed Ruth Caper, president of the National Cookie Cutter Collections Club, whose collection contains over 10,000 antique cookie cutters and dates back to the 1930s.
Nice. Wow.
Yeah, crazy, right?
Yeah.
One of the cutters she has is the famous leg lamp from A Christmas Story. So, right, that movie.
Yeah.
Caper's love of cookies dates back to her mom, who used to bake chocolate cookies for her and her friends.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so later on, she started buying cookie cutters because of her love for baking, but her collection really took off after she met Ed Fox from Little Fox Factory in Bucyrus, there you go, Ohio, invited her to upcoming meeting of the National Cookie Cutter Collections Club.
Wow, okay. This is a tongue twister of a story.
It really is, lots of C's here. So when she attended her first convention a month later, she came home with 10 grocery bags full of cookie cutters.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's a lot. And then, she became the president of the club in 1982 and eventually formed the Tusky Valley Dough Girls and then in the New Philadelphia/Dover area, Ohio, to bring together local collectors.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's really awesome. So over the years, the National Cookie Cutter Collections Club has seen a turnout of roughly 200 attendees at past conventions.
Cool.
from like all over the country. So this is not just an Ohio thing.
Oh, it's neat. Wow.
Yeah. So as the 2025 convention nears, there has been some difficulties in putting it together, which you can find out if you read the story online or in the paper.
Yeah.
But Caper is excited to see her old friends because to her, that's what the National Cookie Cutters Collections Club is all about. Wow. It really is about friends.
Yeah.
So, to learn more about the club and the convention, check out the full story online or in the paper this week. Because honestly, it really took me through all the emotions, Paul.
Yeah.
It was such a sweet story. So
yeah. Honestly, I'm thinking she must have great closets in her house to keep all those cookie cutters.
Yeah,
in.
like her organizational skills must be crazy, right?
Off the chain.
Yeah.
Good for her. Well, that's really cool.
That's awesome.
I'm going to have to check that one out too. All right. So I'm going to bring the mood down a little bit. Here's a story that really ruffled my feathers, Liz. Okay. So today from the AP, actually, we're talking about a really heartbreaking situation that has come out of the state of Delaware, where thousands of baby chicks were found abandoned in a U.S. Postal Service truck.
Oh, my God.
I know. And left without food or water for 3 days. Ugh.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, let's strap in. So these numbers are really, really staggering. So we've got 12,000 chicks that were shipped from a place called Freedom Ranger Hatchery in Pennsylvania. And it was part of a weekly routine that they have going, meant to deliver birds to farms and small agricultural operations across the country. But something went horribly wrong in this past one. Instead of arriving safely, these chicks were actually left trapped in a sweltering postal truck for 3 days. And so thousands of them in that time perished before they were unfortunately found. Or fortunately, rather, thank goodness they were able to rescue some of them. The survivors, which are now estimated to number over 2,000, I think we heard there were about 3,500 maybe, were sent to an organization called the First State Animal Center and SPCA. So John Parana, the shelter's executive director, said this crisis has turned their operation into a 24/7 emergency crisis center. Volunteers and staff, which are already kind of, hard to come by, already stretched thin, now they're scrambling to care for these chicks full time. Feed, shelter, vet care, helping them thrive. It all costs money, and obviously for a donation-funded organization like so many of them across the country, that's a real serious burden. Despite beginning adoptions on May 13th, only a few hundred birds have actually found homes at this point. Many others remain, and among them were actually like some baby turkeys, geese, quail, quite a bit of animals waiting for that second chance. Some potential adopters have actually inquired about buying some chicks, but for the meat. But the shelter is a no-kill shelter, and true to its mission, they're refusing adoptions for killing for meat. So they're trying to find these animals homes. And then there's the question, of course, how did this happen? Well, the USPS has acknowledged what it's calling a, quote, process breakdown. But so far, it's investigating, and they haven't really reached too many conclusions yet. The Delaware Department of Agriculture is also involved, too, in trying to suss out what might have went wrong here. And while there was talk of some financial support that they were being able to provide at a rate of about $5 per bird, the reality has been a little bit more complicated, and getting that funding has been kind of mired in some different things. And the shelter says it's still waiting on meaningful aid. So anyway, if you, our listeners and readers, would like to support this organization, check out their website at fsac-spca.org for more information on how to support them in everything they do, but also through this crisis as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's truly awful.
Yeah.
So I'm a little confused, though. I guess, why can't the chicks go back to, the hatchery or like the farms that they were promised to
That's
go
a
to
very
in the first
good
place?
question. Yeah. So actually, it's due to biosecurity concerns. They're actually not able to bring them back there. They have to keep them separate. It's such a bummer.
Man, wow.
Yeah. Don't love that at all.
All those farms lost out on these chicks. Wow. Well, I hope we find out what happened.
Me too.
So.
Yeah.
Well, to continue our bird issue.
Oh, yes, please.
Yes.
Lift our spirits, please.
Literally, with a better story, with a happier story. Mosquito Lake State Park is hosting a birding weekend, May 23rd, 25th, and attendees will get to go on hikes and scavenger hunts while viewing and learning about birds for free.
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
the
fun.
event will also feature speakers including Greg Miller, the legendary birder portrayed in The Big Year.
Oh.
Which stars Jack Black, Owen Wilson, and Steve Martin. All
great
pretty
cast.
notable, right?
Yeah.
Notable actors.
Yeah.
So be sure to flock to Mosquito Lake this weekend and to check that out. Yeah.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, right? Took on some puns from you. But yeah, so that's our top stories for the week.
And to read the full stories, please go to farmanddairy.com or find your local newsstand.
Thanks for tuning in, and see you next week.
Bye.